Welcome to Noon Hour Slides from the Moose Jaw Museum and Art Gallery. We're located on Treaty 4 territory, the traditional lands of the Blackfoot, Cree, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We pay our respects to First Nations and Métis ancestors and reaffirm our relationship with one another. We gratefully acknowledge funding from the City of Moose Jaw, SaskArts, SaskCulture, Saskatchewan Lotteries, Canada Council for the Arts, Canadian Heritage, and the Government of Canada. I'm Vincent Hotelling, the administrative assistant here, and I'm here to welcome you to today's presentation. Mark Fenton is here to talk about Peru. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. As Vin said, I'm Mark Fenton. And so this adventure started about 6 years ago. In November of 2017, my daughter, who lived in Edmonton, called me up and said, "Dad, I want to do a father-daughter holiday, just you and me." I said, "Great, that's a great idea. Do you want to go to Banff or something?" She said, "No, we're going to Cusco, Dad. You and I are doing the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu." And I went, ka-ching, beautiful. It was a bucket list item of mine that I thought that I would never, ever accomplish until the day of that wonderful phone call from my daughter. So we ended up flying, she flew from Edmonton, I flew from Regina. Okay, I'm gonna have to get a little closer here. Come a little bit closer. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have to get like really, really close to the computer here. I prefer to be looking at you and not at the backs, but okay, so we both flew from our respective places to Toronto and then down to Peru, landing in Lima. And then we went to a place called Puno. We didn't go straight to Machu Picchu area or Cusco for good reason. First, we wanted to see a few other things, and we're going to be operating at altitudes ranging from 8 to 14,000 feet. And we thought it was a good idea to give our bodies time to acclimatize to that altitude before we went. So we landed in Puno at a place you may or may not heard of on the border with Bolivia called Lake Titicaca. Let's change here. So that's the area around there, some of the cute little cars that are in that area. Now, we chose that area for a very specific reason. The Uros people that live on Lake Titicaca for over 500 years have lived on floating islands on the lake. The islands are made of reeds. They're about 10 to 12 feet thick. Some of them are quite large. They took to the lake over 500 years ago to escape the invading Incas. Some people think it was the Spaniards who were escaping, but no, it was the Incas. And they've lived like this for a number of years, and the lake provides all of their sustenance, or at least it did. Now tourism provides a lot of it. So this is the town and the lake. And you can see that they do a lot of things with these reeds. This is one of the floating islands, and you see the many houses they've built on top of it, and the beautiful boat that is there. Get an up close shot of that. They take their tourists and things through there. Okay, you'll see throughout the lake there are always boats collecting reeds because the bottom of the island is always rotting out and they always need to replenish. So they are continually harvesting reeds and putting them on top of their islands. Okay, this is the island that my daughter and I stayed at first off. Yeah, they're cute little kids there. Saw a lot of wildlife. And you see, again, all these things are made with reeds, that beautiful tall bird creature there. This one out on the lake. That tower, which probably wouldn't meet Canadian building standards, but I climbed to the top of it anyway. That's actually the bathroom in the background behind us. So Lake Titicaca, I believe, is the highest lake, freshwater lake in the world. It sits at over 13,000 feet. And so we came there and we had some problems breathing right off the bat. There's our host taking in his haul of reeds. That's my daughter, the back of her head in the background, taking photos. That's a view from that tower I showed you, the Uros people. And you can see, besides the lake, you can see fields and fields of reeds in the background where the water is shallower. That's our hostess. And this was the dining hall. There was a central dining area where all the guests stayed. There was only two pairs there, myself and my daughter, and a couple from France at the time we were there. We only stayed there for one night. Come on. There's my daughter. We're out on a boat tour of the area, and to see the bird in the middle of the boat, he just kind of joined us in the middle of the expedition and stayed with us the entire time. Very colorful. We went to a place where this gentleman here gave us a history of the Uros people, and you can see what this platform that the reeds are sitting on is actually the various layers of an island that have been cut down to show us. Okay. I'm going to go quick because there's a lot of information in a short time. This is the room we stayed in. My daughter and I each had our own bed. There was about 5 blankets on there, and it's cold there at night. So our hostesses put hot water bottles in the bed, old-fashioned style, to warm up the beds before we went. In the middle of the night, when I got up to go to the bathroom, which was not too far away, about 50, 60 feet away, by the time I got back into the bed, I was and I was huffing and puffing. I'm not in horrible shape. I'm not an Olympian, but it really surprised me how much that happened. The people in Peru in the high areas, they actually chew coca leaves, which is the same thing that cocaine is derived from. They chew it, they put a wad of it in the side of their mouth, and that helps alleviate the altitude sickness. Myself and my daughter, and of course, I got to show my moose jaw colors. And you can see the reeds, again, always being piled on. Beautiful artistry. Come on. And that's the couple from France that was there with us. They took 5 months off from work to explore Peru. And my daughter and I with our host and hostess. When we arrived, the first night we stayed at a hostel in Puno, and then we got a taxi to take us to the waterline where our host and hostess picked us up in a boat to take us to the island. So you can see, like all these time, you're always seeing boats full of reeds transiting across the waters. That's the knife they use to harvest the reeds. Interestingly enough, and they get food from this. Interestingly enough, they also get a lot of fish from this lake. It is mostly stocked with Canadian rainbow trout that took hold and are quite plentiful in that lake now. And myself, okay, I hadn't shaved for a while. Okay, birds, various kinds of birds that I'd never seen before. This blue-billed duck was probably the most interesting thing that I saw. I'd never seen anything that blue. And you can see on the island, even on the island, there was like a bridge and a little river in the middle of it, or a little pond. Okay, we did have Wi-Fi. If I ever wrote my memoirs, the title of it would be, "I've heard the thunder roll across Lake Titicaca." There was a beautiful lightning and thunderstorm just at sunset, and it was spectacular to see and to hear. There's that our favorite bird again. And a view from the tower again of the buildings. This is all on our one floating island. Most of the islands are tethered to the bottom, so they're not actually moving all over the place. Okay, so once we finished with this, we had to get to Cuzco, which was quite a ways away. We took a train ride, so a passenger train. I've taken Via Rail trains in Canada. The train that we were on made Via Rail look like cattle cars. And I'm going to show you why in a minute here. So this is where we were. There was another couple that were boarding at the same time who had their suitcases stolen right in front of them at the train station. Somebody grabbed them and took off. Okay, having problems with the buttons. Oops, okay, back up one. So this is the dining car where we sat. This is all the woodwork, the brass. It is all absolutely gorgeous. Those are real flowers in the vases. This is at the back end of the train. So we're leaving Lake Titicaca area, heading towards the town of Cuzco, which Cuzco is the launching point for the great expeditions to Machu Picchu. Okay, and some of the places along the way, snapped some of the places. Yeah, llamas and things there are normal to see out in the fields in the highlands. Oops, sorry. Okay, this lady provided entertainment for us on the train. They did the entertainment, and then they come across with a cart of souvenirs for you to buy. Of course, I got into a bit of an argument with the person with the souvenirs because they wanted to have all my passport information to buy a scarf for my wife, and I told them basically to get stuffed. And the other passengers agreed with me. They said there's no reason for that. So instead, I bought her a scarf at the airport, which was of equal quality. And I think I paid less for it. Okay. Oops. The food was absolutely marvelous on the train. Now, I don't normally take pictures of bathrooms, but when I talked to you about how nice this train was, that was the bathroom. Look at the beautiful woodwork and fixtures and everything. Okay. Yeah. So on the train, that's at the back. Beautiful view at the back of the train. Uh, the meals, again, were very good. The desserts were excellent. A little blurry here, but you can see, people have aloe vera plants and things like that. Look at the size of the succulents at the side of the road compared to the size of the donkey there. Come on. Yeah. The scenery was absolutely spectacular, beautiful to see. So on this train ride, like I said, we started out at about 13,500 feet. We got as high as 14,169 feet. That was the highest spot on the expedition. And there it is at a place called Larea. While we were there, there were 3 people in our train car that needed supplemental oxygen. They were having problem breathing, and that's just sitting there on the train. We decided that our decision to go a week early to acclimatize ourselves to the altitude was probably one of the smartest things we did. So this was at Larea, the highest point, and they have a market there where we got to see things and buy stuff. And there was also a church there, so everybody got to have a look at the beautiful church. Come on, lady taking her fluffy little critter for a walk there. Town that we drove through. See the corn. Corn is a very major staple of the region. Oh, and there's our train from the back to the front. Flowers. We managed to find one of these rare moments where there was nobody in this car because normally it was packed. I think we took this at supper time. Great bar on board as well. Yeah, the thing about again, the toilets in this area is very similar also to Mexico, where they don't want you to put toilet paper in the toilets because their pipes are only 2-inch wide compared to the big, larger ones that we have. So they have to be disposed of. And squat toilets are a normal thing. I also found this in China when I was there. Okay, so when we get to Cuzco, we stayed in another hostel, Mill House here. This hostel was formerly an 18th century Spanish monastery, which is now a hostel. Up on the 3rd floor, they had a bar, and the bartender was a girl from Saskatoon. She had come to Peru to work with her degree in archaeology. Once she graduated, she went back to Saskatoon and did what all archaeologists in Saskatoon do. She was working at the Bay. And then she decided, I'm through with this. And then she went back to Peru and she was tending bar and doing some archaeological work in Peru as well. This is the courtyard within our hostel. Very inexpensive staying in hostels. I'd never stayed in hostels before, but my daughter said, "Oh, I have. You'll love it, Dad." It's very interesting because they're common areas. You get to visit with people from all over the world. Okay, so then it's time to launch on the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. You can't just show up and say, I'm going to hike the Inca Trail. You have to be part of an organized group. You can take a bus that goes all the way up to Machu Picchu. And then it's a very short walk and see the grounds. But what fun is that? It's better to torture yourself on a 48-kilometer hike going up and down mountains for 4 days. But in reality, I would say 60% of the value of the experience was the hike, and only 40% was Machu Picchu itself. There are a number of other ruins along the way that aren't quite as spectacular as Machu Picchu, but they're still quite impressive. Again, I don't know about the building standards here for this bridge, but we did cross it. And look at the wires, the high power wires there. There's got something growing on them. That's our access ticket. So because of all the traffic that's gone to Machu Picchu, there is a limit of 2,500 people per day that are allowed to enter Machu Picchu. The Peruvian government has taken steps to try to preserve it from excess tourism. There are only 500 people per day who are allowed to start on the Inca Trail. And that includes our guides and the Sherpas. Sherpas are the people that are carrying our kit. So we would get together, we'd start walking. We had minimal stuff in our backpacks. The Sherpas would be carrying stuff. And then at the end of day one, we get to our encampment and they've already set up our tent, put out our sleeping bags. They've got the kitchen set up and a fabulous meal awaiting us. It was quite an experience. So 4-day hike. The 4-day hike is listed as easy. At the end of the first day, my daughter came up to me after supper. She said, "This is supposed to be easy, Dad. I'm screwed." And I'm thinking, I done the same thing for myself, but we managed it. The second day is listed as challenging. Day 2 is described as 5 hours of continuously walking upstairs. Okay. So, I mean, we did some work in advance. I walk several kilometers most mornings, but it's not a lot of hills in Moose Jaw to walk. But we managed to survive the experience. There were 3 other people in our group. They were Australian kids. I say they were about 26 years old, and they went way ahead of us. And our guide stayed back with my daughter and I. We were the slow pokes, but he said, I love it. You guys are stopping and you're seeing everything. Those guys are just going to the next destination. Yeah. And of course, my daughter, who loved flowers, wanted to take a picture of every flower in Peru. And there are 250 species of orchids alone in Peru. And you'll see a few pictures of the flowers on the way. So this is our group. The guy on the left, Diego, he's our tour guide. He spent 28 years teaching history at the university in Lima. And he says, now this is my classroom outdoors. He said, once a week, I take a tour. I show people my classroom. Okay, Katie, one of our Australian girls. I'm still in touch with those people. It's even 6 years later. My daughter, besides some of the life there, and Diego cemetery that we passed along the way. People are buried above ground with crypts like that, at least in that area of the world. Yeah, some people carry donkeys. This is one of the first sets of ruins we came on. I don't have everything exactly in the order we experienced it, but you can see all these date back to the Inca period of the 1500s. You see a little lizard there on the rock. We didn't see much in the way of wildlife, except for the llamas. But this was the first major ruin we came across. You see in the background there. Like I said, this is not Machu Picchu. This is just one of those other things along the trail that to me was well worth seeing and experiencing. My daughter and I. And the mountains are just spectacular. Along some of the the hike, you'll see later on the trail is about 4 feet wide. It's paved. It was created by the Incas at the time of Machu Picchu. A lot of this, and so we're standing, walking at the side of the mountain, and then 4 feet over is a drop to certain death, hundreds of feet down. So the guide was always reminding us, stay to the mountain, stay to the mountain, hug the mountainside. And I asked him, has there ever been times when people have fallen over and they've had to call for rescue? He said, we just consider this a donation to Mother Earth. He was a great guy. Walking sticks were a mandatory thing for us. And when I talk about this is day 2, when we're walking continuously for about 5 hours upstairs, and then after we'd reached our peak at that day, then we were going down to 2 hours worth of stairs. A lot of ups and downs, and of course different effects on the knees and the hips, going up or going down. We saw a variety of different things there, from deciduous to tropical rainforest to almost desert-like conditions along the way. And this was day 1. They've set up the tent. They've got our meals all prepped for us. Actually, I think this is the second day. I'm wearing my Saskatchewan, hard to spell, easy to draw t-shirt. I like to wear that in foreign countries. These are the 2-person tents they have set up. So we get there, we're set up. We've got, again, our sleeping bags, our pillows, our air mattresses are all inflated. They've got it all set up for us, ready to go. Good deal. And it was actually, I think, very reasonably priced. And these are our Sherpas, the guys that are carrying stuff. Some of these guys were in their 70s. They've been doing this all their life. They do a tour every week, and they're carrying 50 to 70 pounds on their backs. It's not unusual to look over, get the llamas, and we didn't go up to them, pet them. We left them alone, but definitely got some lot of pictures. And again, the flowers I was talking about along the way. It's just the views were just breathtaking. One of the greatest adventures I had. So this was on day 2. We're climbing to the highest point of the hike, which is just over 14,000 feet, to a place called Dead Woman's Pass. And once we were getting to the top end of it, it was, again, we were being affected by altitude sickness, lack of oxygen. By the time we were nearing the top, it was like we'd take 10 steps up, stop for a full minute, let the floating dots clear out of our eyes as we take a breath again, do 10 more steps, breathe a little bit more to stabilize our bodies. There were people that were much better suited for this and didn't have to stop as often as we were. But my daughter and I, like I said, we weren't in horrible shape, but lack of oxygen can affect people even in really good shape very differently. This is Dead Woman's Pass. On the very left, or pardon me, the very right, it is supposedly a face if you look far enough back. And then just beside that, to the right of the trail, what looks like a breast. And that's why it's called Dead Woman's Pass. It's not named after any particular dead woman. And this is where we were, like I said, taking 10 steps, stop, breathe. And then this is turning around, looking backwards to where we came from. And this is where we peaked out at Dead Woman's Pass. Here's the altitude marker. If you convert that, it's just over 14,000 feet. The t-shirt I'm wearing has a picture of a moose and an alien saying, "I've made contact with the Canadians." Diego and my daughter. And This is another one of our encampments. So when we got to an encampment, there were probably 15 to 20 different tours all going at the same time. So we would all stop at the same encampment, but we would have different zones areas. So we never had any interaction with many of the others. Although on the trail, sometimes we would pass people or they would pass us, and we would have some good talks with some people. One group from Quebec that were going along, just having a grand old time. One lady with her foot in one of these boot casts. I don't know, but she was doing better than I was. Again, another of the ruins, and these ruins are all 500-600 years old. Come on. Downward view on one of them. Pretty bird. Yeah. Again, we're walking along, and I said, Andrea, stop. What? Look to your left. And there's this critter just sitting there, posing for us. Waterfalls. Some of them were just quite gorgeous. Very rainforesty type material there. This was a tunnel that we had to go through. A little bit claustrophobic, but not too bad. My daughter posing. And so this is the town at Machu Picchu. So we're approaching, the big place itself. Machu Picchu itself was actually the lowest point of our expedition. It sits at about 8,000 feet. And this is one of the ruins just before we got to Machu Picchu, at our last place where we were bedded down for the night. We bedded down for the night, and then the plan is, all the different groups get together, and then, we're going en masse through the final couple hours. We're starting at nighttime with lights to arrive hopefully at Machu Picchu in time to see the sunrise over it. Didn't work out that way because it was foggy and rainy and misty when we went. We still had a great time. So we're working downhill now, heading towards Machu Picchu. Yeah. And this is just other ruins along the way. Like I said, there's so many different ruins. There's probably 10 to 15 different ruins along the way. Andrea just loves seeing all the plant life. Yeah. Little Ricky Ridge. This is one of the few places that actually had a guardrail for safety. Mealtime again. I've got nothing but fabulous things to say about the cooks. They took good care of us. If you love plant material and varieties, this is definitely a place to see it. And see what I mean about the trail? That's about 4 feet wide, and on the right is the mountain. On the left is a fall to certain death. So we tried to avoid that side of the trail. And this is Machu Picchu, our first view of it when we arrived. And as you can see, the cloud cover was low. There was mist and fog, so it wasn't the ideal. Ideal, of course, is bright sunshine and everybody looking good. But you know what? It was still great to see. Sheila, one of our other Australian girls. Yeah, that's a little out of order here. Yeah, I was wondering if the cook was going to catch him for breakfast. But... Okay. Okay, so this is in Machu Picchu itself. So they have recreated it because the original ruins, obviously the thatched roofs and all that would have rotted and caved in over the years. but they put fresh stuff on there because it looks great for the tourists. And there's another view of Machu Picchu itself. And it's very expansive. I'm not sure how many acres or it covers, but it is quite a large area. There's our whole group there. I almost want to apologize for us being in the way of the scenery there. Yeah. And keep in mind, so Machu Picchu was completely covered and taken over by the jungle until it was discovered or rediscovered in the very early 1900s. And it's been excavated over time. And the same thing with all the other places on the Inca Trail. They were also consumed by the jungles and that, but over time they've been, you know, brought out for to see their former glory. There's still other ruins that have still not been excavated yet. My daughter having fun. You see the steps there that they actually let the llamas and some goats go to keep the grass down, chew the grass. But you look at the cloud cover. We are even with it. So this is at Machu Picchu. So once we finished the hike, we didn't have to hike back. We had a bus or a van that picked us up and took us back to Cusco. But we spent some time doing some shopping there. So if you look at the map here, let me get up a little closer. So up at the top, you see it says Machu Picchu. So bus to Machu Picchu, Machu Picchu. Down here is the road to get up there, and all the switchbacks. That's all going up mountains to get there. So, oh, pardon me, Machu Picchu's on the left. Sorry, got that. But yeah, to get there, it's quite an exciting ride on some of the interesting Peruvian transport. Okay, so this is in the shopping at the that area. I'm gonna point out something else here. You see right dead center, there's a blue backpack. That's it. It's made of leather, and it's designed very well. It's actually not very practical, but it looks really cool. But yeah, beautiful artisanship and artwork here. As you can see, I brought a few show and tell items here that you're welcome to have a look at when we're all done. Need my button pusher. Okay, again in the markets. And this is at the town of Machu Picchu. So this is now, we're back in the town of Cusco. So this area here is part of a museum. And this structure here was built by the Incas. And you can see the workmanship is quite impressive in how it all fits together. So when the Spaniards came and conquered and killed a bunch of people, they built some things on their own. They built some things on top of the Inca ruins. When the big earthquake came in the 1800s, all of the Spanish built stuff just was flattened. All the original Inca stuff stayed standing. And that's the outside of the museum. This is one of the Spanish built areas, also part of the museum. Beautiful architecture to see. And that's again from the museum down at the grounds in Cuzco. And on the right, again, the wall on the right was built by the Incas, still standing hundreds of years later. I think some of our artisans or workmanship could learn something from this. Another outdoor mall or bazaar. In the background, you see a church tower, and I'll be showing you a front view of that church shortly. There it is, actually. And that's in the main square in Cuzco. It was interesting because I was in Cuzco and I see flags flying, all these rainbow flags. So I thought, oh, very LGBTQ friendly for a very Catholic town. And then I found out that the rainbow flag is the flag of Cuzco. So what you see on the stage there that I brought, we use it as a tablecloth, but these big, massive things, pieces of cloth that are beautifully designed, they use them for a number of things: holding their babies, holding their groceries when they're going out, just kind of a all-purpose backpack of every kind. There's me in front of that church. Okay. This is a meal in one of our restaurants. So we found the restaurant meals to be quite reasonably priced overall. We had to try some of the more interesting meals there. My daughter Andrea is a vegetarian, so that limited what she would eat. So this is me. That's a guinea pig. Guinea pig is actually a delicacy in Peru. And Andrea said, "Dad, can you turn it away? It's looking at me." It was a little greasy, but they it was all stuffed with various herbs and things. It was an interesting thing. It was actually the most expensive meal I had there, and it actually wasn't that expensive. Okay. Inca Cola. Actually, was very good. So this is the main market in Cuzco. Now, if you look at the trenching in the middle of it, again, doesn't quite meet our occupational safety and health standards. You could easily fall into some of these things, but it was amazing the different things you would find there. And yeah, you got to watch where you're walking. You don't want to take a step backwards. Those are horse snouts. There seemed to be a fascination for certain things in their artistry. If you see from the masks there. Come on. This was a little replica of one of the reed boats that I bought for my granddaughter while I was there. I don't have it with me because she's got it. That's from the Uros people. And the tablecloth it's sitting on is the one that I brought with me here. And little llama for my other granddaughter. Yeah, some beautiful sweaters and stuff that we brought. Yeah, my hat. And yeah, two backpacks that I brought back with me. A lot of it's just plain touristy stuff, but again, it's beautiful. And that is my trip to Peru, Lake Titicaca, and Machu Picchu and Cuzco. So